What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Ruoff Mortgage 500 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, March 13th at Phoenix Raceway. I'm your host, Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and this video is presented by PrizePicks. Today, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach the slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 DFS picks. Now, keep in mind this video is being recorded pre-qualifying and practice, so some of my opinions on these drivers could change throughout the weekend. So making sure you're staying up to date on the information that comes out this week on Saturday in terms of practice times and qualifying will be crucial when building DFS lineups this weekend. And if you want more up-to-date and in-depth analysis on the NASCAR slate this weekend, you can find me and Jason on Sunday live before lock on the Awesemo YouTube channel, breaking down the entire slate and answering any questions that you may have. And as far as how we should approach the slate from a DFS perspective, excluding the clash that we had to open the season, this is the first short track that we will be visiting this year. And the shorter the track typically means the more laps that we have, which means dominator points are going to be more abundant than we've had all season long. We have 312 total laps on tap for us, which means around 220 dominator points are up for grabs this weekend. So dominator points are going to be very, very important. Yes, we could have some massive place differential plays when we have qualifying on Saturday afternoon, but still dominator points are going to be very, very important. And the pole setter has typically become optimal at Phoenix in most races. So making sure we're grabbing potential lap leaders in our lineups is going to be something to focus on this weekend. Typically around 2 to 3 dominators per lineup is the way to go at Phoenix. So getting into the picks, starting with number 5, we have Justin Haley, $6,000 on DraftKings and only $4,500 on FanDuel. And it seems like both sites haven't really priced him appropriately this season for the equipment upgrade that he has seen. He used to be in the 77 car for Aspire, which was basically hoping for a top 30 finish each week. Now with the 31 car in Kali, he seems to be a contender for a top 20 most weeks. Was running inside the top 15 in Auto Club before he ended up wrecking out at the very end, finishing outside the top 20. And last week at Vegas, he pulled out a P17 finish, which is probably something we should expect from him most weeks. Justin Haley is a very talented driver. Now with the equipment upgrade, $6,000 seems a bit too low, and on FanDuel, $4,500 is dirt cheap, and you can basically play whoever the heck you want if you ended up fitting him in. So if you just want to throw him in as a last piece fit, he's going to allow you to fit in multiple dominators this weekend, some decent mid-range plays. For a guy that has top 20 upside, I would take that price tag all day. And if you look back to the Clash, which was the first race of the year, it was an expedition race, so I hate to put too much into it, but he was running top 5 for the majority of the race before getting punted by Larson. So for this price point, I'll take a stab on a guy like Justin Haley that has pretty good talent and a decent car as well. And moving on to number 4, we have Aric Almirola, $7,900 on DraftKings and $8,500 on FanDuel. And so far in his retirement farewell tour, Almirola has been on fire, finishing top 10 each race and being in the optimal lineup each race as well. So this could potentially rise his ownership a little bit, as people just tend to look at game logs and say, hey, Aric Almirola's been doing very good. But I think it's something we should notice because we don't have much data in the next-gen car yet. So the drivers that have been performing well so far, it's hard to say that they're not going to keep performing well. And for Aric Almirola, the good times should keep rolling, as this is a phenomenal track type for him. Last year, finishing the top 20 each and every single time. And ever since he's been with Stewart-Haas for the past couple of seasons, he has been killing it in the short, flat tracks. And he had one of the best average finishes last year at these track types, only behind several top-tier elite drivers. Knows how to win in New Hampshire, which I think is one of the most comparable tracks in the NASCAR Cup Series. So whether he qualifies low or high, he should be firmly on our radars this week. And for number 3, we have Chris Pennell, $8,300 on DraftKings and $9,000 on FanDuel. And Bell has been someone that's been on my radar all weekend. As soon as the race finished at Las Vegas, I saw we had a short, flat track on the schedule, and I was like, give me all the Chris Pennell I can handle. And this price point is way too low for a GGR driver in the 20 car. And Bell was absolutely phenomenal at the short, flat tracks last year. He was tied with Logano as far as being the driver with the most top 10s at these track types. And he was only behind Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, and Martin Truex Jr. in terms of total average finish, which is some of the absolute top tier drivers, especially at short, flat tracks. So he's in very good equipment and very good company as far as the averages that he performed last year and the drivers that had similar finishes. And I was expecting his price tag to be a little bit higher, approaching the 9K range, especially after qualifying on the pole last week and showing some speed. Did have some issues in that race, but overall it was a decent weekend for him, overcoming the issues that he had. So I would expect some pretty high ownership at this price point, but you can make a very well-balanced lineup at $8,300 on DraftKings and even $9,000 on FanDuel. Why it is a little bit up there. I still think his price is great across the board on both sites this weekend as a fine mid-range play. And before we head into our next pick, I want to talk about our sponsor, Prize Picks. They offer a daily prop-based contest, and make sure you use code Awesemo for a $100 first match deposit bonus. There's no sharks, optimizers, or mass entries. 5-player lineups can add up to 10 times your entry fee. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. Download in the App Store, on Google Play, or play on prizepicks.com. Use our free player props tool to help you make the best selections. Get 1 free month of Awesemo plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. You'll receive an email within 24 to 48 hours after to redeem your first free month of Awesemo plus Platinum. And getting into number 2, I mentioned the dominators are going to be super important this weekend. So mentioning our first dominator here at a pretty nice price point over on DraftKings, you have Martin Truex Jr., $9,800 on DK, but all the way up to $13,500 on FanDuel. So we have a massive price discrepancy on the sites here, as Truex is the second most expensive driver over on FanDuel, but only the 6th most over on DraftKings. But any single time we're at a short flat track, Truex has to be on our radar. Has absolutely killed them the past couple of seasons. Had the best average finish with them last year, was one of the top overall dominators, only behind Denny Hamlin and a couple of other drivers. But Truex at this price point, for a guy that's been killing short flat tracks, is a recent winner here at Phoenix. Hard to bet against Truex, especially at this price. You can easily fit him in alongside another top dominator like a Kyle Larson, like a Denny Hamlin, and still feel very good about your lineup. Joe Gibbs was really struggling at Auto Club. They had some engine issues, the Toyotas overall, but they seemed to fix that last week as they were very, very fast, and Truex ended up actually almost winning that race before a late caution came out with Erik Jones spinning and Bubba Wallace getting collected with damage. But Truex at this price, really hard to pass up. I know he's very expensive over on FanDuel, but for a guy that can potentially win the race and lead a lot of laps, it's going to be really hard to bet against him. And finally, for my number 1 DFS play for the Ruoff Mortgage 500, it is surprisingly not Kyle Larson this weekend, but it's Denny Hamlin, 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. And he may have ultimately had a bad finish last week, but he was still one of the overall top cars in the field. He was actually first in average green flag speed, but again, he can't really do anything about having an issue when he came down pit road and his race ended up ending. But I think the speed from JGR is going to translate to this weekend. I know it's on a similar track, but it's just nice to see JGR have some speed again. And JGR was absolutely killing at the short flat tracks last year. I'm not sure why that's not going to continue. And Denny is phenomenal at Phoenix. 5 out of the past 6 races, he's finished inside the top 5. He led the most laps last year and had the most fast laps at short flat tracks. And he's only $10-some thousand, very low in the 10K price range. So if you want to put him and Truex together, you are not really breaking the bank, and you can make a very, very nice balanced lineup with getting multiple dominators. And Kyle Larson is only 12K this week. You get a massive discount going with some of these JGR guys that showed a lot of speed last weekend. Denny Hamlin honestly could have won that race last week if he didn't end up having issues. So with the price not being very hefty, I really like having the extra added flexibility in my lineups this weekend, rostering guys like Denny Hamlin, like Truex up top, and maybe going a little bit higher in the mid-range drivers like Chris Pennell, Aric Almirola, Alex Bowman, like we mentioned earlier. So to recap, we have number 5, Justin Haley, number 4, Aric Almirola, number 3, Christopher Bell, number 2, Martin Truex Jr., number 1, Denny Hamlin. And if you enjoyed today's content, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already, and leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with any of the takes that I had in this video. And you can leave your top 5 DFS picks on the entire slate. And if you want more up-to-date and in-depth analysis of the NASCAR DFS slate this weekend, you can find me and Jason on the Awesemo YouTube channel going live before lock at 2:30 p.m., breaking down the entire slate, answering any questions you may have. And I wish you all the best of luck this weekend.